Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto. Today's job is to remove the exhaust system of this GSXR 750, and I just want to start to dry fit, test fit this Vance Hines header pipe, mid pipe, and I know the muffler won't fit yet because I have to take this pipe in and get this end stretched to the same diameter as this one, because the pipe I bought is I think it's a 61 millimeter diameter pipe, and this is a little bit smaller, and it just kind of slops around inside the silencer. So I just want to make sure before I got to take these in to get them sandblasted and to get this stretched, and before I spend the money to do that, I just want to make sure these things do fit. They were supposed to be off a 93 GSXR 750, but and I think they'll fit. It's got two 2-into-1s, and then it joins under here. It's kind of a 2-into-1, the mid pipe here. It's kind of a strange setup the way they did it. There really weren't many slip-on pipes for this, as far as I've been able to find out. And looking at how this thing is set up, that probably explains why. There was a couple, I guess, Yoshimura and Vance Hines made a full system. And the silencer that came with this set was absolutely trash. I bought it off eBay and I negotiated a lower price because I didn't want the silencer, and I could get it shipped a whole lot less without it anyway. So anyway, we'll see how this all goes. So in the process of getting ready to take the pipes off, I did pull off the radiator and the electric fan. Of course, drain all the coolant. Looks like that red-orange Dextron coolant. So we'll put some fresh coolant in it before it goes back on. The other thing I noted too is this: when I took the front fender off this bike, it's got this metal inner fender support brace with all kinds of little bolts and screws and all kinds of nonsense that hold this thing on, and then the fender bolts onto it. It's just a strange setup. I've never seen anything like that. And I've worked on a lot of bikes, and it just seems to be so unnecessary the way they've put all this sort of stuff together. I mean, a lot of extra weight and so on, but anyway, I'm not an engineer. I'm sure there must have been a reason for it, but most of the sport bikes and such that I worked on, the fender bolts to either to the fork leg or to the brace that runs between the forks, but not on this bike. Okay, so that went way faster than I expected it to go. It took about 10 minutes to take the old exhaust off. Nothing was seized in the head, and then to get this Vance Hines system mocked up. So the good news is everything fits like a glove. I just slid the mid pipe on there. I haven't put the spring or anything on it. And then this is the end of the pipe that I have to get stretched, because you can see the gap there. There is a little gasket in there that I put in for now, just to mock it up, but it'll fit nicer if I can get that stretched a bit. So yeah, and then the SC Project pipe should look pretty, the muffler should look pretty slick on there. And then the plan is, because this is kind of a titanium color, this will look kind of shitty. I'm going to get it painted black. It looks shitty in silver, but I think what I'm going to do is I have some heat wrap. I'm going to wrap from here all the way down to here. So that'll be a heat wrapped pipe. It'll look better, I think, that way than having a black pipe or a silver pipe with that can. I didn't want a black silencer on there. I wanted that color, so that's the plan. So we'll get it all sandblasted. I'll get that dropped off hopefully in the next few days. Just picked up the header pipes. These are the Vance Hines headers that are going on the bike. I took them to a place in town to have them sandblasted and cleaned up, and then I brought them back here and I painted them. There's 4 coats of Tremclad high heat enamel on here. I'm not sure what they have as the equivalent to this in the US, but I use this stuff on exhaust pipes. and it's got a nice kind of a glossy finish. Once it's had a few heat cycles through it, it kind of turns into a bit more of a semi-gloss finish, which is quite nice. And it is pretty durable. It says it's 350 to 650, 350 Celsius, 650 Fahrenheit, heat resistant. And I've painted lots of pipes with this stuff, 2-stroke, 4-stroke, and never had an issue with this stuff peeling or flaking. You do smell it a little bit once you first heat cycle the bike, but aside from that, it does stand up exceptionally well. So there you go. On these, I put I think about four light coats of paint on them, and so I'll probably wait until it dries pretty fast. So it's dry to the touch now, but I am going to wait until tomorrow to put these on. I did tape up the ends just where they fit into the cylinder heads. It is a very snug fit with these, so I didn't want the buildup of the paint making it more difficult than needed to be to get these things to slide in. Interestingly, on these Vance Hines headers, there's only a header collar on the two outside pipes, and that's by design, I guess. There's a little lug at the bottom there, so those collars can't move too far down. And then I guess the center two pipes are in there just from a press fit. They're pretty snug, so I don't expect them to leak at all. So that's the way they came from the factory. They're not missing the center two collars or anything like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it on. And today's job is going to be wrapping this mid pipe with this titanium heat wrap. So I just soaked it in a bucket of water, which is what apparently you're supposed to do. So we'll see how it goes. I did get the pipes on. I put the mid pipe on the muffler, and I did fire it up a minute ago just to see how it would sound. And yeah, it does sound pretty wicked. So there'll be a startup video once I get all this stuff back together, and we'll show you how it sounds. Okay, so here's my first attempt at the wrap. Came out okay. I kind of started at this end. You're supposed to start at the end, I guess the outlet end, and work your way back towards the header. So that's the way that it will sit on the bike, like that. Let's just slide that on there so we can see how it looks. It will sit like that. It's not too bad. I guess once it dries out a bit, it'll be a similar color to this. It should look okay. I just secured the other end for now with a zip tie until I figure out whether I'm going to try and wrap this again a second time. I'm not sure if I am totally happy with that. Maybe I'll give it another go and see if I can get the way that this is kind of showing up. There's what I'll call like a rough edge on this, which is like this edge here, and then this kind of nicer finished edge. And the way I've wrapped it here, it seems like I've got the rough edge showing, and it might look better with the other one. So I think I'm going to take it off and give it another shot. Okay, so here is attempt number 2, and looks a whole lot better. Final word on the exhaust system and the heat wrap. So I guess a couple of things I would say if I was to do this again. I would say, just from an advice perspective, make sure that the seams, there's 2 different seams on this stuff. One's kind of a very coarse seam on the edge, and the other is smooth. So when you wrap it, I'd recommend putting the smooth one on the outside so it's visible. I had to redo mine. These band clamps that they give you, they work pretty well, but they're a bit of a pain in the ass to get them tightened up if you don't have the tool for it. I eventually got it to tighten up okay with a pair of pliers. I'm definitely going to need some longer springs. These ones are pretty much stretched to capacity, so those are too short, the ones that came with the muffler. And then lastly, I would say a couple of things about when you're wrapping it. Don't forget to soak it in water. And as I touch there, I kind of remember again, put gloves on. Wear rubber gloves to do this stuff because it's fiberglass and my hands are itchy like hell, and here I am touching it again. But yeah, you don't want to be doing that stuff with bare hands. I'm going to be itching for days. I should have put gloves on and I didn't. That was kind of a stupid move, but there you go. Hopefully the next time you see this, the bike will be running again. I'm going to put the radiator back on, fill up the coolant, and then I can run the bike and you can hear it. I was hearing yesterday. It's running a little bit better, but I still think cylinder number 3 is not quite what it should be, for sure. So the same problem that I was having when I first got it has returned. And basically what's happening now is it starts off running reasonably well on 4 cylinders. It takes a little while sometimes for one of them to kick in, but it's running okay. And so I'll run the bike for a little bit, shut it off, and maybe I'll come back later and fire it up, or the next day. And it takes a bit longer for one of those cylinders to come in. And then the more I run the bike, I start losing cylinders. So I lose this time I've lost cylinder 3, and now I've lost cylinder 4. So when I first started running the bike, I lost cylinder 3, cylinder 4, and cylinder 1. It was barely able to sort of turn itself over and run on with the 1 cylinder 2. And that's when I pulled the carburetors, cleaned the carbs, and then put it back together, and it ran again. And then slowly but surely the same problem has been happening. Now I haven't put the original tank back on it. I've been running off a remote fuel supply, so it's not getting any sort of crap from the tank happening. But so the first 2 steps I'm going to take here is I'm going to put some new plugs in it, see how that works. If that doesn't change it, I'm going to pull the carbs and clean the carbs again. And then after that, if that doesn't help, then I'm going to be into new plug wires, boots, and coils. But as far as I can tell, everything, I tested the coils. There's one here at the top, and then there's one way at the front there underneath the thermostat. So I was only able to do the secondary check on that one. But of the cylinders that I've currently lost, which is cylinders 3 and 4, are not running off the same coil. So cylinders 1 and 4 run off this coil, and cylinders 2 and 3 run off that coil. So I have 2 cylinders that are running off each coil and 2 that are not running. And this is a wasted spark system. So in the case of cylinder 4, which one of the ones I've lost, it's getting spark at exactly the same time as cylinder 1. So the fact that the secondary test on the coil seemed okay, and the fact that I've got 1 cylinder from each of these running tells me that it's probably not the coils, and it's probably not a CDI or a pulsar. Again, there's only 2 pulsars, 1 pulsar for 1 and 4, 1 pulsar for 2 and 3. So that's my next course of action. I'll start with the cheapest and easiest stuff first. Good news, I got it running on all 4 cylinders. It was as simple as changing all 4 spark plugs. Now why they're keep fouling, I guess we'll have to get into that at some point, but for now it's running well, and the vibration that I was getting and hearing from that 3rd cylinder and the pipe, and I was running with it, was a sticky valve or something. Turns out it's just the header pipe. So the plan there is I'm going to take off the header again at some point and try to get it to seat a bit better. Like on this side here, it's kind of hard to tell here, but in here this is seated right in nice and tight, and on the other 3 it's kind of sticking out a little bit. So it's almost like it's slightly askew when it went in. So I think it's probably worth pulling that off and see if I can seat it a little bit better.